Okay, so now that we've talked about what function composition is, now we're going to talk about how to find the composite function. So we're not actually going to be plugging in values for x, we're just going to find the new function that results. And so for number 1, it says find f of g of x. Okay, and so we have 3 different functions we're going to be working with. We have f of x, we have g of x, and we have h of x. So f of x is a quadratic function because of this square, g of x is a linear function, and h of x is a rational function because x is in the bottom. And so for number 1, we are finding f of g of x. And so since f is the outside function, I'm going to go ahead and write the rule for f, but everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put parentheses. So it says 2x squared, that's ugly, plus 3. And then the input, instead of just being x, is g of x. So g of x replaces the x. And so now, going a step further, we have 2x squared plus 3, and g of x is what goes inside here. And so g of x has this rule, 1/3 x minus 7. And so to simplify this, we need to multiply it all out. And so when you're multiplying all of this out, you have to do PEMDAS. And so you cannot distribute this 2 until you take care of the square here. PEMDAS says parentheses, exponents, then multiplication. That's why we can't distribute this 2 just yet. And so I'm going to leave the 2 outside alone right now. And this 1/3 x minus 7 is getting squared. And so that's 1/3 x minus 7 times 1/3 x minus 7. That's what squaring means. Multiply it by itself. You can't just distribute a square. That's not how that works. You have to multiply this binomial by itself. And so to do that, in Algebra 1, we use what's called a box method. And so to do 1/3 x minus 7, some people learned how to do this by FOIL method or double distribution. It's all the same thing. And so we're going to fill in this box. So 1/3 x times 1/3 x is 1/9 x squared. And then 1/3 x times this -7 is -7/3 x. -7 times 1/3 x to go here is -7/3 x again. And then -7 times -7 is 49. Okay, and so this ends up being 1/9 x squared, and these are our like terms, minus 14/3 x, when you combine those, plus 49. Okay, and so coming back over here, we figured out that the result of this multiplication is 1/9 x squared minus 14/3 x plus 49. And then we still have our plus 3 out here. Now that we've done the square, now we're ready to distribute this 2 to all 3 terms inside the parentheses. So that becomes 2/9 x squared minus 28/3 x plus 98. And then we still have that plus 3 we haven't taken care of yet. Okay, and so our last step is to combine these like terms, giving us 2/9 x squared minus 28/3 x plus 101. And so that is that's the standard form of this composition function here. Get my highlighter. And so f of g of x in standard form is this. And so on the test or quiz, it will put your answer in standard form, and so you don't want to leave it like this, even though that's an equivalent form. All right, for number 2, it says h of f of x. And so this time h is the outside function. And so I'm going to start by writing his rule, which is 1 over x minus 5. Okay, and so let me separate that out. Okay, and so instead of x, we are putting f of x in his place. So f of x goes here in the bottom of the fraction. Okay, and so to simplify this, one over f of x minus 5, and the rule for f of x is 2x squared plus 3. Okay, and so our last step is to simplify, meaning get rid of those parentheses. And there's nothing to distribute, so it's just 2x squared plus 3 minus 5. And now the only thing we can do is combine these like terms. And so we get 1 over 2x squared minus 2. And that's our simplest form. Okay, again, they're using that new notation, that G composed with F. Anytime you see that open circle, that means G composed with F. And so you write the functions in the exact same order, but put in the parentheses. That's exactly what that says. And so now G is our outside function. And so I'm going to get G of x, which is 1/3 x minus 7, 1/3 x minus 7 using this rule here. But instead of x, we're putting f of x in his place, which is 2x squared plus 3. Make sure that's right. Yep. Okay. And so here, these parentheses do not have a square out here. There's no square. And so we are ready to distribute the 1/3. And so we have 2/3 x squared. And then 1/3 times the 3 is just 1, giving us 2/3 x squared minus 6 once we combine these like terms. Okay, and so let me get my highlighter again. This is the standard form, it doesn't have an x term, of g of f of x. And this, not that, this was our final answer for this. Okay. So now for h of g of x, h is the outside function. So h, we're using red, but they're using that notation again. And so this is the exact same thing as h of g of x. And so h is the outside function, which says 1 over x minus 5. And then g of x goes here. Now we replace g of x with his notation, which is 1/3 x minus 7. And then if you want, you can use the parentheses. They don't have a purpose here. But we still have that minus 5 in the denominator. Okay, and so our last step is just to get rid of the parentheses and combine our like terms. There was nothing to distribute, so that's why we are ready to combine our like terms. So we have 1 over 1/3 x minus 12 as our final answer. I'm going to leave this last one, number 5, as a challenge for you to do on your own. And so here is your answer for number 4, and then number 5 is your challenge.